Well, hello again. Here I am with some yes or no answers to a big question. Oh boy, this is a big one. The question is Trump crazy? Well, how sad it is that I'm even making a video about the President of the United States and asking whether or not he's crazy. But enough has been going on. There's enough written on this subject. There are certainly some strong opinions on both sides that I think it behooves me to try to tackle it. Well, we never cease to be amazed by the way Trump manages to amuse us, appall us, offend us. His behavior is unlike anything certainly we've ever seen before from a president, or for that matter any national leader. He is one of a kind, and so one must reasonably ask the question whether he's in his right mind or not, because being a great many standard deviations away from the norm almost by definition suggests that you're crazy. So let's listen to some of the arguments. First of all, the yes people, those who say he is crazy. Well, number one, of course, his behavior during his entire term, certainly, but in recent months has been quite over the top. But just in the last week or two, it really has been beyond the pale. His utterly appalling ride-by trip in a limousine after departing from the hospital while he was still a patient and endangering the lives of his Secret Service agents. People just shake their heads at this. Who but a person that is unbalanced would do anything like that? And then his subsequent behavior of coming back to the White House and flamboyantly tearing off his mask, and in a time when the White House itself has become a hot spot of coronavirus activity, and more of his staff are falling by the wayside with the coronavirus. It's just the craziest thing you've ever heard of. Well, next, there are a variety of diagnoses, a lot of which seem to fit very much with Donald's behavior and personality. So here are a few. First of all, he may be in a steroid-induced psychosis of some sort. Now, you might say, oh, well, it's not his fault, it's the fault of the drug. The fact is that he's put himself into a situation where he requires steroids, and that's the President of the United States that we have at the moment. So as a consequence, that behavior, for instance, the recent 13 tweets in 45 minutes bragging about all of his accomplishments, is almost a psychotic behavior. One just shakes one's head as this torrent of both abuse and self-justification comes pouring out. Some psychologists and psychiatrists have noted a Trump phenomenon which continues to plague him, which is the use of sentences that just don't make sense following one after another. One thing runs into another. The subject seems to change without any link to what's been said before. And that's a frequent indicator of dementia or Alzheimer's disease. It's been getting worse, and a pretty good case could be made for the fact that Donald's brain cells are starting to reflect this kind of pathology. Next, he may well be a pathological narcissist. Such people will, of course, praise themselves for everything that they've done, say that they have been the best performer in every given area, will often blame any kind of shortfalling on any mistakes on everyone else but themselves, make grandiose statements about their own skills and ability, as in the case of Trump's talking about what a high IQ he has and his famous statement of being a very stable genius. A lot of that does add up to a level of narcissism which almost in itself means really you've kind of lost it. Another thing is what is often referred to as a kind of hypomania, a flight of ideas that just keeps coming, often including offering advice as though you are authoritative about the advice on a subject that you know nothing about. It would seem to most people that that would be a stupid thing to do, because you'd be caught out by experts in the field who would then say, well, you're wrong, that doesn't make any sense. And of course, this has repeatedly happened with respect to the coronavirus and the way Dr. Fauci has had to correct his misstatements. But nothing daunted, Donald continues to carry on like this. And finally, Donald seems to suffer from a kind of extreme form of sociopathy, where he insults everyone else, he has no empathy, he doesn't seem to be concerned about how other people are suffering as a result of some of the things he's done. He's, in that respect, just a bully, and one of extreme proportions. So anyway, there's all of the comments that I care to make about his mental state. I'm sure you could find many more. A recent book has been written by a team of psychologists that I took a look at, listing all of the ways in which he seems to have gone off the rails and assigned clinical terms to describe them, some of which I've used. I'll put a reference to that book in the notes below. Well, what about the people who say, no, he's not crazy? What can they say to defend their point of view? Well, here are a few points. The first one is, well, this kind of behavior, that's just Donald. That's just the kind of man he is. He's flamboyant. He shoots from the hip. But what that really means is that he's an honest man. He says what he thinks. There's no deceit, as there so often is with many politicians. What you see is what you get, and my, isn't that refreshing? A politician who speaks with honesty. Another argument that could be made is, well, he got himself President of the United States. So to be elected President of the United States, you've got to be pretty clever, effective, smart. You have to put together a whole package of programs to do that. And if he were crazy, he simply wouldn't have been able to have done that. And similarly, Donald has had a dramatically successful business career. He's, by some accounts, amassed $1 billion. He's a real estate tycoon. He's got a huge building on Fifth Avenue with his name on it. There's an old expression in New York, if you're so smart, why aren't you rich? Well, I think that would be Donald's motto. His success in business once again demonstrates that eccentric in some respects he may be, he's not crazy. He's just simply a very capable, effective individual. Well, there are the arguments. Some of them a bit startling, I must admit, on both sides. But we'll now get to my take. What's my take on Donald? Well, I have to say, as someone born in the USA and now an expatriate in Britain, I am constantly embarrassed by people asking me with a kind of wry smile about Donald and his behavior, and then probing further and saying, how could a country like the US, with its history, with its towering strength in the world, have possibly selected someone like this? And to be honest, I just don't have a good answer other than, mumbling something about, well, that's the way democracy works, or something kind of weak and feeble like that. But it is something that has certainly distressed me and embarrassed me at the same time. Usually, in those situations, I fall back on something I do believe in, which is that the founding fathers anticipated that there could be a Donald Trump in the White House and made sure to have plenty of checks and balances. There are, first of all, plenty of ways to replace him if he's incapacitated. There are ways to replace him if he turns out to be completely out of control, and I think they've been kind of brushing up those parts of the Constitution lately and thinking about that. So, the founding fathers realized that there could be these kinds of difficulties. Thank goodness they had the smarts to figure that out, and it could well be tested in the future. Yes, I do believe he is crazy. Is probably a scientifically imprecise term, but I think he really has lost the plot. I don't think he really is functioning rationally, and I think the voters have finally seen through that, as witness the plunging support he has now from the electorate and the likelihood that he will get really badly defeated in the presidential election. So he's going to be the first one-term president since the first George Bush about 25, 30 years ago. Thank goodness. Oh dear. It has given me no pleasure to do this video, but I think it's important to kind of upfront address issues of this sort and get some debate going about them. So there it is. I'm sure I've offended some people with this one, but I have no regrets about that. And if you like it, give me a like. Please do comment below and subscribe. Please subscribe and even hit the notification bell. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.